At the end, it doesn't matter though, because he performed really well and the impact that he had on the game was phenomenal. It was great stuff. He got a 4-man Furious Dive Petrified combo in the bottom lane that set the team up for success, that baited out all the resources from the opposing team to give Gunked enough space to then just clean up, act as the janitor there, clean up these scraps with all the very low HP that they have. But all the dirty work was done by Diablo. Yuzong is a very big prio pick here with the brawls
Someone's got to do it.
Team fights that we have seen in the African regional qualifiers.
And I think that's part of the job of the XP lane, man. And that's why I'll always say this. I've been saying this for I feel like a better part of a year plus at this point, where I'm like, XP lane for me is the most impactful lane, not just in the fact of what's available hero-wise, like meta or how you can change that even, but just the course of the start of the game to the end of the game, right? Like, I mean, even think about it. Everybody comes to the XP lane before the first hurdle because, they want some of that XP for that level 4, that level 4 ability, right? But that's the thing is some of the teams, they don't have the way to move around the XP lane like we've seen so far. And what I mean by that is, so far, some of these, the teams that we've seen from just the Africa regional alone, and actually this is for all MLBB esports, when you really look at the XP lane and you think about, let's say teams for, hey, is this a weak link or is this the strong link of a team? I'm sure in your head, you can probably think of some weak links in the XP lane and some strong ones. And you know how much success they bring to an overall success of the team. I mean, even looking at last year's IESF champions, we know just how good the XP laner was from the previous, team for the champions, right? Flat Peasy out there. So that's the thing is when you see this kind of unfold in the XP lane, keep an eye on it because that's where you really want to see things unfold. And then everything kind of resolves around that. Sometimes they are I'm going to do the dirty work, sacrifice myself to set things up, and that's good. And sometimes they're the ones that are peeling for the carries, for the gold laners to pop off later on and do things and set things up that way. So that's why I love the XP lane so much. So, you know, I don't main it. I'm a mid main, you know, I'm a mage main, but I really appreciate watching these guys play in the XP lane. So let's see what happens here. We go into the draft for this game number 2.
As a mid laner, I think then you have the credibility to talk about how XP lane is very important, because you know how it feels when you're going up against a good XP lane, especially on the Yuzong, these heroes that dive towards you as a mid laner. I know you play Gord, right? That's the worst thing in the world, going up against Yuzong.
XP lane Gord.
Keto. Oh, maybe that's the new meta that, you know, we might see from them. I highly doubt it, though. We did see a Gord just yesterday, but it was played in the mid lane, the usual role. But hey, we did see a Yin roam. I won't close that out. We might see that. Still, though, you can see that respect for the Hanzo in the first phase. Still the respect for the Masha, too. Not a lot of crazy changes here in the draft so far, despite the change in sides. But my big question now is, will the Luoyi be prioritized by Mali? Because it was prioritized. It was first picked over by Senegal on blue side. Now that they banned the Masha, are they going to ban the same exact things as they did in game number 1? The Harley and then the X-Borg, right? And then technically, okay, yeah, I guess it's just mutual respect for these pocket picks of theirs, man. The Hanzo, the Harley, and I'm expecting, you know, the X-Borg next, and then the Minotaur.
Okay. At some point, Mirko, we have to see Kilauea on the Hanzo. Like, we that's 2 days in a row now. We've been robbed
off a Hanzo game from Kilauea, bro, and also of a Harley game from Side of Mali.
Yeah, for Dark Prime, right? So at some point we got to see this.
Are you sure it's Dark Prime and not Billy?
Oh, good. Actually, yeah, you could actually park Harley there as well. So there's a last ban. We're through the first phase. Is this just Luoyi priority then? Like, I'm wondering if that's exactly what Mali wants to do. We saw this previously on just flip side with Senegal. So there it is. This is very smart to do anyway. You pick up the Luoyi, you base your composition off the fact that you have diversion now. And not only that, like, I know we talk about diversion every single time that Luoyi's picked up, but just the way that her kit works, even early game, it's actually a lot of kind of like surprise early damage. Especially if it's utilized around that first turtle take, or even let's say an early invade on the jungle. I know there's, you know, that passive that comes through that, but there's a lot of unexpected early burst damage that can even come out in the lane from Luoyi.
Mathilda, though, maybe picked up. Do they want to go for the Yuzong now? Do they want to just put Diablo on a comfort pick? Yeah.
Yep.
Seems the Mathilda and the Yuzong, the two flying heroes we can call, you know, with the Black Dragon format, the Guiding Wind, and the Circling Eagle. Mobility is still their #1 priority, and that sustain is very underrated, right? You would expect on paper the Rafaela to provide more healing compared to the Mathilda, but that photo, especially when you get ahead in the early game with the Guiding Wind, it's very deceiving. You expect it to just be more of a dash, right? That Guiding Wind, but he gets so much HP shielding as well over to everyone when he has the photo, but you know, to the one member as well, especially when he rotates over to these individual lanes. Xavier gonna be hovered over. This is, I think, the give and take. This is the negative and also the positive of playing so much Akai for Kilauea. You understand how to play it, and you also understand how to counter it. So the Xavier pick here, it makes sense. You want to try to bait out the heavy spin, and something like the Mystic Field can force out the heavy spin to be used up, not to disengage, but to just get that anti-CC down. Because when you're already in that immobility field, and then say the marksman that they pick up later on gets to just free hit on the Akai, then obviously, you know, we have the Yuzong, and so much damage output already for the side of Senegal. It is going to be very, very difficult for the Akai. Akai's biggest weakness is damage and poke, and they go for damage, but that's not poke. That's all in. Yuzong, Leomord, and Mathilda, they're looking to dive into that front to back composition, bro.
This is that's scary, man, because if you think about it, like, think about a flying horse now. Right, so you have a flying dragon and you have a flying horse basically paired up with a Matilda. So there's going to be a whole lot of just flying animals or creatures that now Mali has to deal with. And you know, when you're Beatrix, that's not fun, man. You know, you don't have as much room to kind of maneuver around, switching guns, of course, trying to find the right ones when you're dealing with so much mobility being thrown at you. Because even if you take the Matilda out of the picture from Senegal, like Yu Zhong and Leo Mort alone are enough to really cause a lot of kind of just awareness for the enemy team. Like, where are they going to come from? How fast are they going to just kind of try to overflow on some of these lanes and some of the pressure that they can put out? And it's been a minute. It's been a while since I've seen Leo Mort in the jungle. And I know, you know, more so on your side of Southeast Asia over here, it does pop up once in a while, but really over here, it's something that's still kind of a pocket, like, niche pick. And it really is certain, you know, players and junglers that can pull that off. But interesting too, we're going to see some of these roam bans banned out from Senegal. We saw the Angela now, the Arlot's taken out. So I'm still kind of wondering, you know, with this, what is the game plan here for Mali to hopefully get them to a game 3?
Let's see. Good Natan ban though, right? So they're already adapting to game number 1. They saw how much that weak side Natan could actually snowball as well, on top of just being a scaling hero, and that's a good Moskov ban too. So 2 heroes with kind of the same playstyle, only the Moskov will be active way earlier compared to the Natan because of that Spear of Destruction. So they already have the Lo Yi. They want to take away as much global presence as they possibly can, right? I mean, the Angela's been taken out by Senegal and now the Moskov, but something that is still up for grabs that will, I think, multiply the threat of this dive comp is definitely a chip. The chip was banned out in game number 1, but now it has been left open. It was also banned out by Senegal, by the way. So maybe Senegal are just not comfortable on that pick. They've also already picked up the Mathilda, so I don't think they want to try to put in the Mathilda as a mid laner anyways. But still, that's definitely something that you can still think about here for Senegal. If they really want to go for the brawls, safe choice though would probably just be a mid laner. And yeah, they're doubling down on that dive, bro. They have the dive already, they have the damage, but what they might not have is enough HP to tank up the damage coming down from the Lo Yi in the early game. So good Faramis pick here, another realm to provide them another layer of HP, but I would say this is a good adjustment too from the side of Mali. I love that pick, the Minsathar, something we don't see a whole lot of. I don't think we've seen it at all actually from our own regions, Naisu, but up against a dive comp, if it's not the Edith and the Minotaur, yeah, the Minsathar does a pretty good job as well. You put that King's Calling down and everybody who dives in technically gets damaged so much. I actually was just yesterday after, you know, after we were done casting, I played a few games of MLBB and I went up against the Minsathar, bro. I was on a Roger and I dove on him, bro. Okay, firstly, the Minsathar went full attack speed build. He went for damage. And it was ridiculous. My whole team got wiped by that Minsathar. We still ended up winning the game, you know, because it's very one-dimensional. Yeah. But considering the rest of the composition has already kind of covered the weaknesses of the Minsathar, they have the range, they have that mobility as well, they have that diversion to give him some solid angles to attack from the flanks. This could work, honestly, for the side of Mali.
Good. Yeah. I was just going to say that, man. Like, so regardless of what this last pick was, I actually like the lineup that Mali's bringing to the table here. Because even though I said there's a ton of mobility that can be utilized from Senegal, the main thing is these are responses in these last couple picks to deal with that, right? And not only that, but utilizing a diversion now. You can actually use that really well with having an implosion or the King's Calling. Like, this is almost on the same kind of technical level of overlapping of abilities between what we were theorizing between the Alpha and the Sylvana. Like, this is almost something similar where, like, okay, now you have an implosion that you can utilize with King's Calling. You can actually set some nasty combinations, some nasty wombo combos up if you want to. Because even with diversion, like, again, setting everything up in that central area with an implosion or the King's Calling, that allows so much of those, you know, the passives, of course, from Louis to activate, and that's where that burst damage comes from. So it's almost like Senegal has to actually play around the fact that they don't want to fight front to front or get forced into a fight, because again, the Spear of Glory can actually be enough to set those things up even without a diversion.
Their biggest problem, however, is still going to be the Purify. And we see 3 Purifies picked up by Senegal. They're ready for this super CC composition of Team Mali. Ladies and gentlemen, game number 2. We're going to dive straight into the land of Dawn to see Senegal versus Mali. And this time, Killuane is, I would say, even though I haven't seen a lot of Killuane on damage dealers, I think this is a bit more comfortable for him. Meanwhile, oh my goodness! Early game, level 1. Level 1, Diablo's already bullying Dark Prime, bro. And it seems like
Yu Zhong, man.
Wait, Naisu. Dark Prime is now in the XP, no longer in the jungle. Elsis is taken over in the XP.
Okay, so yeah, so wait, hold on. They did a little swapperoo right now, but gonna be fighting for these resources. We'll talk about that in just a second. I think they're just gonna force him back here. Oh, they're gonna get caught by Diablo, who comes in, crashes down. What a response and rotation early on here to put Senegal on the board 2-0.
What a great start for Senegal. They started 2-0 as well just in the previous game, but this is so much earlier. First minute of the game, and they were able to get the first 2 kills down. Good rotation by Diablo, and obviously it's through the lane priority. He was able to win out in that lane so early, and I think for Dark Prime, he did not respect the level 1 power that the Yu Zhong has in that lane. If you go all in up against the Yu Zhong in the early game, especially level 1, you're not going to be able to live to tell the tale. But it also seems like Senegal want to use the strong side in the bottom lane, Naisu.
Bottom lane? Okay, it looks like he burned the flicker out. So he did that, but that's what we were talking about. They were setting things up there in the bottom. Now they're here on the top, but Turtle's going to be spawning too. So this is kind of up to Mali. What do they want to do? Do they want to waste so much time up here on top side? It looks like Ellis is also going to get in position at least to show face for this Turtle, but it might just be better that they give the first Turtle the game up. Diablo once again rotating here. They're going to find Elsis out. Heavy spin going to be used, and there it is, secured once again by Senegal. Let's see if they actually still want to fight. Circling Eel going to be used as well. Now into King's Calling. Looking for is the one to go down, and now it's going to be Dark Prime. The focus in the fight under the orange buff as he falls to Pimp My World. And there they go. Senegal once again getting the momentum.
Insane momentum. 4-0. Deja vu to game number 1. It's the exact same start for the exact same team, but with a different composition. A composition that will be able to utilize the early game kills more efficiently. This is a dive comp, man, and unfortunately for Team Mali, if they fall too behind, it might be done with the second Turtle, right? They have to stay very, very careful, very vigilant at this point of the game. They have to play towards the Beatrix, I feel, and also the Lo Yi. Looking for and skill to kill will be the 2 ways that they can actually hold the game off in the mid game to maybe scale off into the late game. But all the way from the start of the game, I actually realized something. Skill to kill, he didn't go for an item. I don't know if he sold his item a bit too late. I think he wanted to go for the item swap from boots into a dagger at level 13, and now another dive.
Oh, that is just... This is what I was talking about earlier, man. I know, you're going to that explanation there, but I was saying the pressure from Senegal's lineup, if they want to just overload a lane or any member of Mali, that's exactly what they're going to do. Just like that, we saw it unfold there. And they'll get that tier 1 on top as well.
Oh, man. It almost seems like I say it and it happens, right? We were talking about how they need to play for the Beatrix, the Lo Yi, and another dive!
Mid lane again! Furious dive with the Petrify combination. Looking for will not be able to escape as he's taken down. Heavy spin already to be used from Elsis. Black Dragon form, but they're going to fight it out in the mid lane. Flicker comes into the King's Calling, though. Do they even have enough to fight off? They don't. Dark Prime will fall too. Multiple bodies down for Mali. Senegal again just comes out clean, and that's going to be a Turtle in their hands as well.
I said Mali needed to play with the Lo Yi, needed to play with skill to kill on the Beatrix as well to maybe possibly hold off in the mid game and then scale into the late game. Right as I say that, Senegal take over, they dive. One of the key factors to actually keep the game going, skill to kill shutdown, looking for shutdown even harder. And I was also saying that the game might be over after the second Turtle. Senegal beat that as well. They said, no, we're going to end it technically before the second Turtle even spawned in the game. They just dove in the mid lane and they were so far ahead with this dive composition that they were able to take control even with the King's Calling placed down. It almost technically had no impact there, right? I mean, the Purify just got them out of the stun, and Billy even isn't really able to get an implosion. He gets poked down so early even before the skirmish even happens, and he can't even utilize the flicker aggressively. Now another invade.
Oh, They're going to go again, once again, on the purple buff. Elsis has to use the heavy spin, trying to get out there. Dragon Form going to be there to help him out too. Lockdown once again under the tier 2. They don't care about the shots. Diablo's going to be the one to fall. This is the fight back from Mali, though. They're able to get 2, and Senegal went a little overzealous in the exchange.
Okay, there you go. That's the King's Calling I was talking about, right? When everybody dives in and nobody's able to disengage, nobody's able to utilize those dashes, you can still be caught. And that's why we were giving, a little bit of credit to the X factor that is the Minsithar. If Senegal get too ahead of themselves, they will give out shutdowns. And those are some big shutdowns that they actually gave out. Luckily, it's actually only on Diablo, right? They give a big shutdown from Diablo over. And technically for Senegal, they'll still be able to utilize most of the space. And Team Mali, on the other side, won't really be able to utilize any of the space that they created with that winning team fight to get any of these neutral objectives or even an objective, a structure on the board. So it's still all good for Senegal. That little mistake could just be a reality check for them, could just be like, a bit of an awakening for them. Now understanding that, okay, the Minsithar can be a problem if we all dive into him, especially when our Purifiers are still on cooldown, and then there's an implosion to follow up the King's Calling that already locks us down in that big circle. So now Senegal, play it slow. They have all the leads that they have. 4,000 gold lead. Diablo still on the side as well. Turtle number 3, it seems like is going to be contested by Team Mali.
Circling Eagle going to be used. Right now, Mali trying to get in position. It's going to be kind of just felt out for now, though. Look at the Dragon Form going to be entering the fight, the fray. Whoa. Trying to zone them out the best can. Phantom Steed going to be used as well. Still fighting for it. Just Dark Prime is going to be the one to fall. And Diablo once again on the backside gets locked down with a heavy spin. But multiple members make it 4 are gone from Mali. What just happened?
Looking for, tried to survive. He went to the diversion. He actually did get the diversion down, but then the DOT, that damage over time for the passive of the Yu Zhong, just kept on ticking. That was a fadeaway kill for Diablo and Team Mali. Oh man, I think they saw the last team fight. They thought it could work, their composition, but they completely forgot that there were very specific conditions for them to actually win that team fight, right? Earlier, it was between the tier 1 and the tier 2 when they won that team fight. And it was also Senegal diving in way too deep without their Purifiers. When the Purifiers are up, that combo cannot work. And Team Mali went in without the conditions, the specific conditions that they needed to win that team fight. Senegal just completely obliterated the forces of Mali there. And now we're seeing Mali on the defense. They can't really step up of their own base. If they do, well, they technically can, but they're 9,000 gold behind. Kilowane has a big Blade of Despair in his inventory. Heck, Pimp My World, at this point, he has the photo as well. He might actually have Blood Wings to get more shielding, or maybe just another magic item so that he can give more shielding and healing for the team. Dark Prime, recalling the wrong bush, pops him a nice call. Oh no, the King's Calling is not going to be ready. The diversion as well. Naisu, 2 big ultimates have been baited. And Senegal could use this. This is a window of opportunity for them to maybe crack the base open without the Lord.
No. Into the jungle. It looks like there was a fight. Billy, though, he's going to take the brunt of the damage. Phantom Seed going to be used. Heavy spin already there as well. Circling Eel on the backside. Trying to keep them zoned away from Elsis. It's a double for Gunk. Now Gunked online. They're going to force them back even further. It looked like from the map, Billy just approached that bush blind and got caught. So unfortunate for Mali. Now they're even further behind. Just like before, it's 11,000 gold gap between the two teams. Lord going to spawn here in a couple seconds. But right now, Senegal now going to set their sights on getting these shields down. They're going to work the best they can. Circling Eagle, they might just look to put some more pressure here. Gunk, half health, has quite a bit of shield as well. Turret's going to be worked on. Nearly half health on the turret, and Lord now for the taking. I'm not sure if Mali can even really contest this. They're just going to have to go into defensive mode in the base.
Yeah, no, they can't. I think the only thing that they can do is maybe send Elsis there to try to go for a steal, but even then, Senegal have so much prio. You can see Pimp My World just screening Billy and screening Dark Prime. Everybody, even Elsis, right? I mean, I don't think that Kai can even go for anything, and at this point, again, for Senegal, they're doing a really good job at just delaying this final push. They want to wait for those Purifiers to be back up again, and when those Purifiers are back up, Mali will have to layer their CC. It's hard enough landing the CC abilities on Senegal, but now you have to layer it upon the 3 big purifiers that they have, and we're going to take a look at the items here. Hunter Strike and the BOD already completed for Kilowane and is already building towards an endless battle. Or no, he's actually going to go for Thunderbolt, it seems. So a little bit more defense there and a little bit more utility to play with some slows coming in from the basic attacks after you use these abilities, and some true damage too. Yuzong basically going full damage at this point. The Dominance Ice is a bit more of a formality. It could have gone War Axe, Hunter Strike, maybe to a Malefic Roar at this point. They're so far ahead, and it looks like with the first Lord, they can actually crack open these base turrets.
They're going to force it once again. Mid turret's going to go down here. Diablo jumps in, finds the setup. Phantom Steed already going to be used. Dark Prime going to be taken out of the picture. Billy worked on next. He does get a kill on Kilowane. They still have to deal with the Lord. They want to win the fight, but look at Gunked. Gets the kill. It's a triple. Can he get the Maniac? Base going to be worked on. He goes down, but that's going to be enough for Senegal to sweep Mali as they take this series.
This composition was built to snowball. The composition that we saw in game number 1 wasn't. That's why it went 14 minutes, and that's why in the 11th minute, Senegal were able to just steamroll through that siege. They didn't even need to take more than one base turret. They just pushed in that bottom lane. They let the minions get rid of the mid lane base turret, and Senegal come out 2-0, clean sweeping Mali. Wow, crazy adjustments made by Senegal after their loss yesterday up against Tunisia, man. And you can really see the difference here in their second match that we, get to cast for. I think we'll definitely take a look at the highlights here and talk about the little things that ended up with them getting small wins that built up to that big win. I think it's, again, them understanding how to utilize their advantages. It's nothing too flashy, it's nothing too crazy, it's just them understanding the core fundamentals of utilizing what their composition is made for. Akai pick in the first game. Go for the neutral objectives with the Mathilda as well. You have so much more mobility to play around compared to Mali. You have so much more poke as well, and that's what Senegal used. Diablo was so far ahead of Elsis, so every single turtle fight he will always be there faster than Elsis. On top of that, it did definitely feel like Elsis was not really comfortable on the Terizla. I don't know if it's because he's an actual jungler player, because they did swap eventually in game number 2, but I feel like it's just a big difference in the XP. Diablo was out-rotating, out-laning, out-damaging, and out-impacting the Terizla in game number 2. We saw the same thing, but, to a different player. It's Dark Prime. And even in these neutral objective or actually the purple buff contests, it looked pretty good for Mali, but then you take a look at the deaths, and it's only Diablo who becomes the sacrificial lamb. This is another play that's a very, very good example to what I was saying earlier. Diablo gets used as a sacrificial lamb to go for that big petrify, and the furious dive, and then to bait out all these resources. Take a look at this. When Gunked got low, he went back into the purple buff, went to clear it first, getting the HP necessary, and then rotated again to the bottom lane where everybody has used their ultimates. The only one player who has the ultimate up is Skill to Kill, but that's on a very low cooldown, and that's honestly not the ultimate that they wanted to bait out anyways. So Senegal did a very good job layering their initiations, mainly from Diablo doing all the dirty work. Again, with the Petrify and the Furious Dive, able to isolate the team, leaving Elsis for Gunk to melt down all alone in that Lord Pit. Now we know why the dinosaurs went extinct, Naisu, that they just got, soloed, isolated in the Lord Pit, getting damaged by a time traveler and the Lord. Definitely not a fun time for that dino. Definitely not a fun time for Detana or Barrage. And, again, we did mention that in game number 1, it was still a scaling composition. Despite them having such a massive lead in the first 11 minutes, they were not able to end because they're not a dive comp. And that's what really ended up prolonging the game. Mali, they were just reacting to all the plays. So it was really just Senegal not having that brute force damage to actually crash and take the game in an 11th minute. But it was a completely different story for game number 2. They had a composition built for that early game. In game 1, maybe they were trying to read out their opponents, right? Maybe they wanted to play with some insurances in the late game within a ton. But in game number 2, they were like, all right, we got the read on game number 1 and how Mali likes to play. And if they want to go for the invades, if they want to fight in the early game, we'll just double down on our amazing early game already. We'll double down on how good Diablo is, on how good Kilowane is, on the Retribution as well, by the way. Because it's a hard thing to out-retry Elsis on the Akai with a heavy spin. That's more of a 70-30. It actually might be 100-0, but Kilowane makes it look so easy. Just out-retries him simply, and again, utilizing what advantages they have. That dive is absolutely disgusting. Skill to kill was level 3. He couldn't do anything there, man. And then these angles that Diablo was able to find constantly, even when Ulsus looked for the heavy spin. When you have to use the heavy spin on one member to disengage, it's all cool. It's still good. 2 members, sure, right? But when you have to disengage on 5 members that dive on you, especially with a guiding wind, 3 purifies, and so much damage in the early game. We were talking about how poke is the biggest weakness for the Kai. Well, I guess burst is the biggest weakness now that we see this game. This is a mistake, though, that they made. No purifies were ready. It was still on cooldown after playing or after trying to dive in that mid lane tier 1. So they did make a mistake despite this dominant game. And I think, for Senegal, they were okay to make that mistake because no real structures were taken down after that. Mali were unable to utilize that little win in that team fight. And again, I think for Mali, they failed to understand, they failed to recognize the very specific condition that their composition needs to get before winning a fight, right? They needed the purifies to be baited out. They needed to layer their CC. And unfortunately, at this point, when they were actually able to layer their CC properly, it was a bit too late. It was already when Senegal had a, 12,000 gold lead on Mali. Oh, man. Yeah, a bit of a stomp here in game number 2 with that snowball comp, that dive comp.
It was, great just kind of breakdown for both of them. But yeah, especially in that game too, it looked like, when you pointed that out where they made the mistake diving in between the tier 1 and tier 2 turrets in the mid lane. And there was like that little glimmer of hope for Team Mali. It's like after that is when they approached, after that whole exchange, they approached the next objective, the turtle fight, and then they just got obliterated. It was like they had that little bit of hope, and they're like, let's do this. But they needed to kind of like recollect themselves and still kind of realize the situation of like how big of a disadvantage they were currently at. And I feel like if they were able to and then continue to punish some of those overzealous mistakes that we did apparently see from Senegal, then they probably could have lasted a little bit longer and then got to possibly a game 3. Who knows, right? Who knows at that point? Because we're talking about a pretty massive lead that Senegal had there. But, overall, it was just a very well executed lineup. Very interesting on both sides. And again, whenever you see those kind of interesting combinations between heroes, like we did, even having a diversion available, but more so the Tigreal combination with the Mincetar, like in theory, that could have actually worked really well. But unfortunately, they would not be able to utilize it the way they wanted to. And again, I'm talking about just the fact that there was so much pressure with the lineup from Senegal, man. Even having a Leomord alone, who you don't typically see pop up in the jungle, ended up working out really well. So it was just a really well-executed draft, especially for Game 2 from Senegal. And they learned so much from yesterday, it seems.
For sure. I think they learned so much from Game 1 as well. I mean, they just did so well, right? Game 1 was a bit of a read. We were talking about how they, had late-game insurance in the Natan. They didn't actually need that in Game 1 in the end. But still, it's great to have when you're still trying to read out your opponents. And then in Game number 2, they doubled down on that early game presence. And honestly, Naisu, I think when we take a look at all 4 games that we've seen from Senegal, the 2 games that they lost yesterday, the 2 games that they won today, we have a lot of questions about their playstyle, about their drafts as well, right? Definitely one of my questions, the biggest one, has to be the Hanzo. When will we see it? And how good is that Hanzo? Because for it to be banned out by 2 different teams in the first phase, mind you, it has to be a beast. It has to be a different, a different level, right? And in a bit, ladies and gentlemen, we will be calling in Pimp My World from Team Senegal to get us some questions. And it seems like, Naisu, I'm hearing that he is ready. So let's call him up right now. Welcome, Pimp My World. Hello, Pimp My World. Hello. How you doing, man?
Guys. Hello. How are you?
Oh, hold up. It seems like
I can't hear him.
Unable to hear him. Yeah. I don't think we can hear him, not just yet. Don't worry. We'll fix that issue very, very quick, and then we'll ask these questions because, all right. Pimp My World, can we?
Hello.
All right, we can hear you now.
There we go.
How you doing, man, firstly, after that game?
Fine, and you? How are you?
Doing good too. And actually, let's start things off. I gotta ask you, Pimp My World, because in 2 different matches that we've casted for Team Senegal, for your team, we've seen the Hanzo ban. Like yesterday against Tunisia, and then today up against Mali, the Hanzo was banned. So I just want to know, how good is Kilowane on the Hanzo, and why is it getting respected so much? Are you guys close with these other teams?
Yeah, definitely. the community is a little bit small. So we had play scrims against everybody, and in every scrim he just keep playing this Anzo. That's why everybody is just banning it every day. But I wouldn't ban Anzo, but if they want to ban Anzo, why not? But he is very good with it.
Definitely.
He is indeed.
Miracle, I think we can agree. We can't wait to see it. Hopefully, we do get to see,
For sure.
Killer Wayne play the Hanzo. But I want to ask you this, Pimp My World. Between yesterday, you guys had a very tough game against, Tunisia, and then it seemed like you guys made a quick adjustment, like today alone, because this was a different performance than what we saw yesterday. So,
Yeah.
how was that difference between just basically a day? Like, how did you guys adjust so quickly?
I think it's the fact that we know Maya very well. We played against them a lot of scrims, and they are our friends. But so adjusting for now. So I think it was just a different level. Tunisia is playing for a long time, and they have some pro tournaments. So it's just different teams. And but I hope that Malia will keep going and will keep upgrading their levels, because they are very kind, and I hope that they will be able to qualify to Morocco, because I want to meet them there.
That's really cool, man. I love the sportsmanship. I love the community being so small. They're all so close together right now. So because we also saw the same respect given by Team Senegal. They banned out the Harley 2 games in a row and the Masha. So are those two picks that you would say are, the strongest picks coming in from Mali? Did you take away their spearheads in this game? Is that why you were able to get such a convincing dub?
Yeah, because at the last moment, their jungler did change, because I think they have some passport issue or something like that. So their new jungle was very strong with Arley. So it was just easier for us to ban Arley every game and just play like that. And it worked out the first game, so we did it the second, and it works out too. So
Solid performance, man. But okay. Thank you so much to Pimp My World. Nice. Do you have any, last questions or maybe something you want to tell them?
Yeah, man. Pimp My World. I
Yeah,
wish you guys the best of luck.
we were-
Moving on. You guys are awesome.
yeah, thank you. And we wanted to win this game very much, because we met Naisu in Romania last year, but we didn't met Nico.
Ah,
So we wanted to win this
Yeah.
game. So we have to do this interview to tell you how we love you two guys. So thank you very much,
Oh, thank you
and
so
have
much,
fun.
man.
thank you
Hope to
so
see
much.
you
Thank
guys
you.
in Morocco.
Thank
See you,
you.
man. See you.
I hope
Good
so.
luck.
Ciao.
Man, it's always so cool. Again, dude, I swear. Naisu, I love the African players, man. I really love this region so much because again, they're just so well spoken. They understand. Dude, again, I said
100%.
this yesterday, but I want to say it again, right? The Southeast
Say it
Asian
again.
players, one thing that they can, take from the African region has got to be how well spoken they are, how confident they are on the mic, and how cool they are. They're just so cool, dude. And also, seriously, I love the fact that their community is so small, but yet they have that sportsmanship. They don't hate each other. They still respect each other so much. And he's
Yeah.
giving the support back to Mali. Wants them to qualify later on. And he also recognized that there are some issues maybe with the roster that they are dealing with right now. So great stuff. I can't wait to meet them as well. Hopefully they do qualify to Morocco to Casablanca. At this point, I hope every team does. I want to
You
meet
wish
every
you
single
could,
one of
yeah,
them.
right? Yeah, man. I was trying to get a glimpse as well at the Liquipedia because I think it's nearly just updated. So it looks like, at least for now, Egypt has secured their slot over to Morocco because they went 3-0. It looks like, they have a 6-point difference. They went 6-0 actually overall in games. So,
Wow.
things are kind of falling into place because, again, some of the games happening, because I know I got some of the questions also in my direct messages even yesterday. Some were wondering, like, where are some of the other matches? Some matches are not happening on the stream, guys. So, this is usually the case for even last year throughout IESF qualifiers and even at the championships. So some of them you don't see. So it's always good to keep an eye out. I know we have like a comment, one of the, I don't know if it's Nightbot, but I know we have one of the comments down in the YouTube stream where you can check the updated, list and follow that link to check it out. But yeah, right now, man, I want to see where things fall into place because even for Senegal, so this puts them at 1-1 now. Yeah, IESF.gg. There you go. You guys can check that out to stay updated on what's going on for all the qualifiers. But at least right now, it looks like, you know, Egypt, very dominant, very strong. You know, we've seen them in the past too, and Senegal. So this sets them at 1-1 now. So I'm hoping, you know, I wish we could see everybody out there in Morocco, of course, but
Same.
you know, that's the nature of competition, man.
Exactly, man. We're going to have to see some of these teams not qualify, unfortunately, if they continue to lose. But again, best of luck to every single team participating in the African regional qualifiers. Because in our next match, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys were very entertained with game number 1, match number 1, game number 2 especially, we still have another match. And then after that, another match, which is going to be a playoff match. So next match, be ready for Mauritius versus Namibia. We just watched Senegal go up against Mali, and it was a very, very great match. And now, definitely want to see what Mauritius and Namibia have to offer. We have seen Namibia on stream. We have not seen Mauritius. Would love to see how they take the game, right? What style do they have? Because again, we've seen so many different styles. Just yesterday, we saw a very disciplined game from Senegal, Tunisia, and then in the second match, we saw Namibia versus
Crazy
South Africa,
stuff.
where it's a bit crazier. Yeah, we saw the Yin Rome. Yes, you heard it right. Yin
Hellkurt
Rome.
mid.
I didn't. Hellkurt mid as well. 2 assassins, double assassins in the mid lane. So I'm hoping that we get to see a little bit of that as well in match number 2. Maybe not the exact same thing, because we would want to, you know, get more of those unique heroes up. Definitely, that's one of the big things here for me, especially after seeing the way that they played. But it seems the pattern still stays true, I assume. Match number 1, it's very normal drafts, right? And then as we get on to the later matches, we get to see even crazier drafts, and that's what I'm expecting. That's what I am waiting for, honestly.
Not only that, but you know, this is similar to what we just witnessed, Mirko. Like Senegal's improvement just from yesterday. And remember, Namibia played South Africa yesterday. So how have they improved just from what happened yesterday? Because we, you know, like you just mentioned, we saw what South Africa did. We saw how fast they came out swinging. So what kind of, you know, adjustments have been made here? I think that's the biggest thing. So, you know, I can't wait for the second match. I believe we are going to be also taking a break. So we are going to take a break before we jump back into this, and so you guys can get the refreshments you need before we get primed and ready for second match.
Stay hydrated, guys. We're going to come back later on after this break. It's been nice with Mirko, and don't forget to catch match number 2 and then later on match number 3.